Hello, folks. You're all very welcome back to the Celtic Soul podcast. I'm Andrew Milne, and I'm joined by Glasgow journalist Michael Pringle once again. We didn't have a chat last week because Michael was off enjoying a little family break, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll get a little update on how that went. Folks, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and the alarm button, and you'll never miss an episode. So, Michael, how are you, and how was your little break?
My little break was good, aye. It was, I was tempted to go and watch. I was up in Arbroath for a few days now, so I was, thanks to the kindness of my friend Johnny G, who's got a caravan up there. But I was tempted to film a Saturday afternoon with taking in a football match, but my wife Stacey quickly kiboshed that. But Arbroath were playing Inverness Cali. I'm glad I never went, actually, because it was a 0-0 draw. We ended up, while the game was playing out, we were right next to it playing foot golf with the kids, so basically the cross between golf and football, where you kick a ball into big holes, so and it's right next to the ground, so I love Arbroath Stadium. It's a really old-fashioned stadium, all ground and stuff. So I've been up there a good few times to see Celtic in the past playing in the cup. So and it'll be sort of forever tied in with Danny McGrain. I suppose Arbroath, you know what I mean? But it was good. Apart from we tried to find Arbroath Cliffs as a sort of coastal path that takes you along, and we ended up in a farm. And my son had a meltdown and told me I'd taken him onto private property, and left him in the wilderness. So we had to about turn and head back away, so we never actually got there. No. But it was good to get away. To get away. And the weather was fair as well, and it was beside the sea, so what more could you ask for?
I've never seen Celtic play in Arbroath. When was the last time we played them?
Oh, we played them in a night game the last time. I don't know how many years ago it was now, but I think we only beat them 1-0, if I remember right. But it was probably within the last decade, I think. Maybe 15, but it's less than 20 anyway. I know that for sure. Probably around the 10, 12 mark.
Answers on a postcard, listeners.
Aye, so it was a Wednesday night game. I remember that. So they do a great fish supper up there as well, no?
I love a fish supper.
It just comes right off the boat and into the fish place there and right out to the chippies. So none of these skinny fish, they're good, healthy fish up there. No?
You're making me hungry now.
So that was my first stop, was the chippy.
Nice one. So we haven't been speaking for a couple of weeks, and loads has happened. But before we get on to Celtic, any gigs?
No, I've not had any for a wee while. I'm trying to think what the next. I'm going to see the King Blues next month. I think that's about the only one I've got. And I've got Creamfields in a couple of weeks, so for a bit of dance music for a couple of days now. So, but I've been listening this week to the Clash, and who else? The White Stripes. I've been listening to the Clash and the White Stripes this week in the car, because that's the only chance I get to play my CDs these days. And I'm trying to get my kids into some, rather than the stuff that they're listening to these days. But Leighton, he's quite hyper focused, so he loves Green Day. So every time we're in a car, it's got to be Green Day that goes on for him, and I'm like, I'm fed up listening to Green Day, you know what I mean? Just so I let him listen to Clash. He likes a few of their songs, whereas my daughter's more into Katy Perry and stuff like that. She's good at picking music up really quickly,
When is Creamfields?
The 28th, I think, to the 30th. It's a bank holiday weekend.
We'll have plenty of talk after that, because I'm at Electric Picnic that weekend. So that's the biggest festival over here. So I'm really looking forward to setting Bazza DJing again. And Connor's coming home. He's making his debut DJing on a different stage. He's coming home to Toronto. So and then as well as that, like you get, it's one of them festivals where you always get to see a band you've never heard of, one of the smaller stages, and within a year or two, like they've just elevated themselves up, and like Kneecap starting small stages, got to the second biggest stage, and then we're on the main stage last year,
It's either that, or you see a band that you think are going to be the next big thing, and then you never hear about them again. They just I've done that with a few. They're going to be huge, and then
Yeah, you brought me to a band in King Tut's years ago called Parker, and you said these are going to be the next big thing, and I think they broke up in the dressing room.
They did, I think they chucked it after that. They were for Press Week.
Good band they were as well. I still have their CD.
Aye, the Attack of 100-Yard Hard Man. That was the title. Yeah.
There was a comedian got up on stage that night with them and sang. A big heavy comedian, wasn't it?
I can't even remember.
I have visions of the lead singer, all right, and this other guy getting up and singing with him, and someone said he was a Scottish comedian.
I've done that with a few bands, but Leeds Festival years and years ago, I was sort of Darkness were coming on one of the main stages, and I was like, I don't really fancy the Darkness, and I said, who will I go and see? And a girl was just walking past me and says, go and see Kasabian. And I was like, they didn't have an album or anything at that point. No, it was still to be released, their first album. And I went, I'll go for a couple of songs and see how it is. No, and it was a tent, maybe held about 4,000, and it quickly filled up. And after a couple of songs, I thought they're really quite good. I'm just going to stay and watch them. No, and then all was it. And then not that long after that, I actually seen The Enemy, and they supported the Fratellis in Glasgow. And I thought, wow, they're plenty of energy. I like them. They sounded a bit like a Jam to me, at that particular time. And then when I went up to Tina Park not that long after that, and I think it was the Cooks and the Killers that were on the two stages, as closing. As someone said, who you got to see, the Cooks or the Killers? I said, I'm going to see The Enemy in the Future station. I went, who's that? And I went, you'll find out Monday when their album comes out. And sure enough,
a good choice as well.
Still love seeing them. I've seen them recently, and they're still a big band, no.
Yeah, Kasabian, they I think I've seen them first on TV, and then 2 years ago they played the main stage, but maybe second or third on the bill. But I tell you what, I do look like if it doesn't clash with my DJ sets, the Mary Wallopers, I'm not sure what stage they're on, but they always give a brilliant gig. You know what I mean? They're a real. I went to see them in the Barrowlands at Christmas, and just a really like. You just come out and you go, that was great. Enjoyed that, you know.
As I feel good.
Just as that kind of just a buzz, and the fact that they're from County Louth. We won't say they're from Dundalk, but they're from County Louth, which gives you know, another thing to be proud of this year after our Gaelic team done so well. But so we'll talk about them festivals on a future podcast. But since the last time we spoke, Martin O'Neill's been in hospital. He's out, and it was great to see him yesterday. I seen a press conference he done, an interview with the mainstream media, and he was in good form, and it was just great to see him back in that Celtic tracksuit. 74 years of age, years young.
Hi, it's and it's incredible how quickly the feel good factor can return if the club are doing things in the right manner. No, the game at Kilmarnock there I thought we were just spectacular in the first half. Some of the link-up play and stuff, and Casper Who, obviously. I mean, I know you shouldn't really judge on one game, you know what I mean? Because it could talk it now quite rapidly for there, but it was a really, really impressive performance for him. It was just you couldn't find fault with the whole performance. It was the only thing was it was sort of natural as we took our foot off the gas a bit in the second half. No, but it's incredible how fast things can turn, and then we've got another couple of signings in the door as well. So I was a bit underwhelmed with the opening match at Celtic Park on Flag Day. I just thought it was an instantly forgettable. I thought it was a deserved win, but instantly forgettable game. No one that will live long in the memory. But for a second game, that was just a really. I mean, I think we had 16 shots in target in the first half, and 16 shots in goal, and 9 in target. And fair play to Kilmarnock, they played an expansive open game as well, and had 6 shots and 3 on target, I think, first half. So it could have been 6-3, 6-2 at half time. So it was great to see a game on grass in there as well. What a difference that actually makes. And there was no leaving it dry or anything. There was a bit of rain, so that just made for. On the way down, I was saying that I was like perfect conditions for a good game of fast football today, and so it proved. No, but it's good to see Martin There's nothing serious with Martin, and he's back in the saddle, so to speak. So, but it's really looking positive, to be fair. And it's I mean, it's going to be a tough ask, this European game, but I think we definitely look as if we've hit the ground running, so to speak. If that Kilmarnock game's anything to go by, I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow. Tomorrow when we go to Tannadice as well, which is normally a good hunting ground for us, but last season we struggled. So, but I'm looking forward to that tomorrow as well. So, bit of strange kick-off time again, but
yeah, we're getting well. I think we've got used to some strange ones over the years, but this year, Saturday evenings, the Monday night. But if I can, like, just on O'Neill, it was interesting to hear him yesterday say that we'll speak about the new players later in the podcast, but
yeah,
he was on about the Hassan, and he said like they tried to sign him in January, and Oviedo were in a relegation dogfight, so they wouldn't release him. And obviously he's a good World Cup then, and we were hearing that Liverpool were interested during the World Cup and after the World Cup. And obviously that interest fell off, and they finally got the deal over the line. He's in the Champions League squad. He's in on time for that. So that's a positive to hear O'Neill saying, look, this isn't like we didn't just start watching him at the World Cup. Yeah. That's a good positive that we were tracking him, because we've questioned, 2 transfer windows. But if I just want to swing back to the Dundee game, Michael, because like we've been home and away since. We've seen two different performances, but 2 wins. Sorry to see us conceding a goal, but like 6 points clear.
It's a good goal, to be fair.
Rangers are having a nightmare.
That is...
Hearts have bounced back. If you look at the 2 teams that we were competing with last year, and then, but the one thing I want to ask you about is because the Dundee game, right? O'Neill wasn't happy with it at half time. He was saying in his post-match interview.
Yeah.
He said they were a bit better in the second half. Atmosphere was really good, 60,000 in the stadium. But your section, the standing section over in the North Cove, the boys joined the Green Brigade. From where I was sitting in the main stand, it looked really good. There was kind of a lull for a minute or two when the first whistle went off. And I was going, what's going on? And then the noise ignited and carried on for the game. So what was the
capos,
what was the difference?
I can explain the sort of white space, so to speak, because the capos obviously spoke for the first minute and says, look, we've got the boys here. Things will work slightly differently than they have done in previous seasons. And there'll be slightly more gaps and stuff to get into the swing of things and how it's going to work. But it says it'll basically work the way Hampden works with the two groups. So it works really well, and there was a wee bit more breathing space at times between songs and stuff. But I mean, I think what I was thinking about on the, I'm going to say Saturday, I know, but Monday was that it might alleviate some of the overcrowding at the bottom as well, because people will be less likely to flock into that front bit now that the boys are in the rear section. So it might alleviate that, hopefully. I mean, I know there's measures in place that the club have put there to try and alleviate, but that was something I thought about. And it looks even worse when it's overcrowded in that bottom section, because it is a narrow bottleneck sort of area. So it doesn't take that many to come into it for it to look overcrowded. So that was something I was like, that might be another sort of side benefit of having the boys further back. It worked well, no? So we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. But it's good to have everybody back together again. I mean, the boys formed as a sort of splinter for the Green Brigade back in the old days, no, when it was the SMV and the Style Mill Vandals as they were labelled by the Evening Times, I think it was, no. So
the first thing on the agenda at the first Green Brigade meeting, the split.
So But that's went well. I mean, things have been great between the two groups for a number of years now, as you can see with the solidarity the boys showed with the Green Brigade during the ban and stuff last season. So, it should be good. It should make for a better atmosphere, and I think that rear section of the standing section has been quite, I don't know what way to describe it. I mean, a lot of people just get used to no singing and stuff like that as well, except for the bigger games. So you can see it markedly that there's the front section that sort of leaves everything off and keeps everything going. It just seems that there was a bit of apathy crept in at the back of that section. So the boys will obviously give that a boost, and that'll give the people around about them an encouragement to join in. I spoke to a couple of people that were moved. They weren't that happy about having to move, but they see the bigger picture, you know what I mean?
And when he moved, were you still in the standing section, or had he to move elsewhere?
No, I've moved in the standing section, but I did speak to somebody who said that someone I know and his son were moved into the north stand, but I don't know if that was through choice, maybe. I mean, there's also the sort of demographic thing as well. We having like an ultras standing section like that as well, where people do get older and they're less inclined to be jumping about and singing and stuff, and maybe they do want a more sort of laid back match day experience. You know what I mean? So fair play, but but then people become accustomed to where they stand or where they sit, and they go, "Oh, this is my seat. I've had it for 40 years," and blah de blah. You know, but I think you've just got to see the bigger picture. I mean, I've moved around the stadium for the Celtic end, to the jungle, I've been in section 111 since 1996, but so what's that? 30 years. But I've actually had to move 3 different places within 111 because of the introduction of the standing section, etc. So even I've had to move, and I wasn't too happy about it. I quite liked it up the back. No, I was 5 rows for the back for years, over 10 years. So I liked it there. I had a good view. I didn't get hit with the rain and stuff, which I do now. So, but I didn't have 10 big telly flags in front of me, which totally obliterate your view of the game for 80 to 90 minutes either. You know what I mean? So I always say I'd be better watching the game on radio. You know? But I see it at times, no? But it's part of that. It's part of that culture. So
on the field that night, all eyes was on Hogh, and also Martin O'Neill went with Duran, who played out wide, probably not his best position, but trying to keep both new signings happy. Duran done nothing wrong to be moved out, because he hit the ground running, a goal in each game in pre-season, and always looked decent. And then, but all eyes was on Hogh. He is the record signing, but I wanted to dispel a myth. He's not the most expensive player to come to the club, because when you think back to Martin O'Neill, and I know people go, well, he is, but when you think what 7 and 8 million was worth when Martin O'Neill was first time around, bringing in Sutton, Hearts and Lennon, all these players, Thompson, all come in for big money. So they were bigger kind of at the time.
Relative terms,
at the time, right?
£25 million signings now.
But he is our most expensive signing, if without going into value over the years. So he had a couple of chances. He didn't take them, right? And then, thankfully, the old reliable Nygren, who still get a lot of pundits, give a bit of stick for his all-round play. But without him last year and without his goals, where would we have been? He was the most consistent goal scorer, top goal scorer for us. So it was good to see him kind of not grabbing the headlines, but making people aware that I'm still here, even though they've brought these new players in. I still know where the goals are. But after the game, you listen to people in pubs, and the next day I had a quick look on social media, and people are questioning, like, he's played 90 minutes and all of a sudden, he's not good enough and he missed too many chances. And you're saying, steady on, lads. I remember Janino making his debut. I think it was against Rangers. He had a great game, and then that was it. He faded away after that. So, but you won't judge a player in one game, and you won't judge him on 2. But he certainly answered those small amount of critics against Kilmarnock.
it wasn't even his. It wasn't just the goal scoring against Kilmarnock. It was the outball that we had. I mean, I've seen Sinisalo a couple of times throwing the ball directly to him at the halfway line, and he was able to drop in and play in other players and stuff. So I mean, I just thought he gives a completely different dimension to our play, you know. And I thought Duran was really unlucky. I mean, he hit the bar a couple of times. He came in off that wide area and had a pop at goal and stuff. So I thought he was really unfortunate not to get himself on the score sheet as well. And it does give us that option. You can play Duran behind who. So there's a few permutations. I mean, I heard Sean Maloney speaking last week. He says it's up to us to find a way to fit the both of them in, and I'm sure they will. And with Hassan coming in, this gives us a hopefully. I mean, Celtic fans are all happy because we've spent money on these players. I think that's the main thing. If we brought players in for $2 million, they would have been
or on loan.
Aye, there would have been more of the this is the same. We're having a punt and hoping that we get lucky and stuff. We're looking now at these players as being quality players and not just squad players that will come in and push for a first team place or take a first team place automatically. But then again, sometimes players take time to settle, as we've seen with Nicholas Kuhn. Sometimes you don't hit the ground running, and the fans can be a bit fickle and a bit reactive if you don't hit the ground running with right away or so. We'll need to wait and see, but I don't think we should be too harsh if these players don't look like world beaters after the first 2 or 3 games, no, because I'm sure they've got qualities that will shine. I mean, I even think back to Trusty and Engels when they came in. I mean, the fact that they came in for big money, they got a bit of a hard time because they didn't look like exceptional talents in their first three months or so. So I think we can admire their qualities now. It's taking a bit of time for them to sell, but that's the only thing on the flip side of this. We'll probably lose Engels, but it looks at. I'm hoping no, but the fact that they were brought Bauer in makes me think that maybe we're going to accept something for him. If no before the qualifier, then it's almost immediately after. But so he'll be a loss. I thought he was brilliant on Sunday there. Seems to have went a bit quiet with the Alistair Johnson thing. We don't look as if we're trying to show us a right back at this moment in time. So I'm hoping that's one that will just. I'm hoping that the club Everton have taken sort of notice some of the supporters on their forums who seem to think that Johnson's injury prone and stuff, and is no better than what they've got. But that's you've got to hope that that's the way they're thinking, because
I think on the Johnson thing, Michael, I think you can hope. I think he's one you can say, well, we're not selling you for that.
No, you know, and he is at that end of his career.
He's on a contract.
Yeah,
he's on a contract. You know, we don't need to sell him. There's plenty of money in the bank. I think, and that's why you sign a contract. You're happy to sign it.
Yeah.
Right. Be a professional. You know, I like, and if he did go, it's hard to replace a player of that quality. And what's at the club at the moment to cover him isn't that quality. So
no, I think in time
you need to be very good in the transfer window to bring a player in of his quality. And he's like, I've said it before, you know, when he got back fit last year, he was one of the differences.
Yeah, I mean, because you're real steel.
And O'Neill is like, O'Neill has always been, you know, a player who wants the best players, you know. Now, like, I don't think he's a huge record for bringing players through, you know. And especially, he might have brought them through when they played in the first team, but big games, he always relied on his big names, his experienced players. But it was really positive to hear him speaking about Duran and saying, you know, well, maybe it's not his best position out there, and maybe we can get him, we can go 2 up front. That's exciting. But the flip side of that is this German guy Bard has come in. he would have to be a type of player like Engels, to cover, because you have to cover a lot of ground when there's two up front in the middle. And Engels probably has the best engine in there. Or is he a holding midfielder that in the Neil Lennon shape that comes in, and then you've got your wing backs. So it's interesting to see if they can fit the two of them in. But like after last season, when we didn't have really a recognised striker, it's so positive.
Definitely, definitely. One of the things we turning back to Alistair Johnston, I think Colby Donovan in time will be a fantastic player for us. I mean, I think people forget how young he is and stuff, and I think he's learning the game. But give him a couple of years, I think, and some more appearances, then I think he'll be a fantastic player for us. He's never let us down, I don't think, the times he has played. I mean, a big ask to come in and deputise for Johnston, but he's done it admirably. So just a wee shout out to him, and he's a homegrown player, which is.
Do you think he's ready now if Johnson was to move to grab that jersey?
It could be, but is he the complete player yet? No, it's going to be a few years before I think he reaches anywhere near his potential. But sometimes that's the best way to learn, but isn't it? Just to be thrown in at a deep end.
Kieran Tierney.
Aye. There's bits of his game that are going to have to improve, but we could say that for probably every player in the team, maybe one or two exceptions. So, but he's a good one for the future, I think. So, but it's this next season or two, I think that we're really going to have to cover Johnson, but sorry, I've been back the way to go forward again.
No, you're all right. Plenty of time. So that's now 4 new faces in.
Yeah.
Obviously, we re-signed Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's looking like a bit power player again so far. Anyway, good experience, I suppose, to have around the team. So, young 22-year-old German, right, playing with a team that Paderborn team wouldn't know much about.
Aye, well, I've been to Paderborn. I've told you that before, haven't I?
No.
Well, it was their old stadium. I was there years ago to see St. Pauli play. Paderborn. It was a strange stadium. There was pylons, electricity pylons running above the the playing field, so right across. But
what's the capacity there, Michael? What kind of?
I don't know. They've got a new stadium now, but at that time I would have probably said it was maybe about 18 to 20,000 at that time. So
it's a massive step up to play in. 60,000.
Yeah. I don't know what our new stadium was, but I don't see it holding much more than that. It's not the biggest town. I mean, so
if Engels does move and he is the replacement, it might take him a little time to settle. But or he may be just a player that grabs it with, both hands.
It's hard to tell with his YouTube clips because some of them look. You know what I mean?
But some reels, you've seen, like, I don't really read much into that. You've seen some reels of players and they've gone, wow. And then you see them in the flesh and you go, you're kind of going, fuck me, the agent's put that reel together well, hasn't he? Do you know much about him?
No, I don't, to be honest. I mean, I never watched it. I used to be that I had an interest in German football, but I don't really watch that much yet now, to be fair. So, and certainly know the Zweiliga, as they call it, the Bundesliga too. So, so.
Yeah, so like they've seemed to be tracking him all summer. So it's a player that I'd never heard of. I will try and get someone that does have a bit of knowledge on him. And I'll try and get Vincenzi on because next week the young Barcelona journalist, because he's been on to me already about Hassan. He seems to know quite a bit. Obviously, that's his main league, La Liga. But he just has. He could surprise me. He could know everything about Bab because he's like an encyclopedia on players and teams. I think he must just spend his whole day watching football.
See, to be honest, I don't watch much football now apart from Scottish football. Yeah. The English football just leaves me cold. You know what I mean? So I try and watch as much Scottish football as I can now, and I think it's I watched Motherwell last night. I watched the majority of their game, and I thought they were really impressive again. I've seen them playing Hibs, and the boy Ibrahim Said scored both goals last night, and he looked fantastic in the last couple of games. No, so really good goals last night again. I thought I was really impressed with him, because I thought, with the exception of Hearts playing Benfica, I thought Motherwell probably the hardest ask out of the three teams, out of Rangers, Hibs, and themselves. No, always knew Benfica would be far too strong for Hearts before the first leg. So Motherwell, I thought it was a great draw. They got away from home, and last night Timo Pukki was playing as well. I thought I watched them, and they looked really good. They don't look as if they're any weaker than last season, and they possibly look stronger than they did under Askew. So I think they could be taking points off everybody again this season, to be fair, and really pushing it again. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, they lost Elijah Just, but they don't seem to be any the worse for it, to be fair, in the games I've watched them now. So and Fir Park was as busy as I've seen it with Motherwell fans last night ever. To be fair, it was. It looked as if the three stands were full, and the south stand, which would normally be for away fans, had a good couple of hundred in it at least. No, so there was bits of sections up. It only looked about maybe 20 travelling fans, 20, 30, something like that. It was a small bundle of them in the south stand, segregated for the rest. So it was a really busy Fir Park last night. So they're obviously confident that they can kick on for last season, no?
Yeah, I was visiting friends last night, and not mobile phone people. So you leave the mobile phone in the car. We went in. We were catching up. Old friends from the school saying we were catching up on. I hadn't seen them in ages, and we just catching up. So I hadn't even thought about the football while I was there. I was there for most of the evening. Got home around midnight, put YouTube on, and watched the highlights of the Rangers game.
Well, funnily you should say that. When I say I watched the Motherwell game, it came to 75 minutes, and I flicked it over, and it was one each. So it had been 1-0. It had been 1-0 to Rangers earlier.
Penalty, Shankland.
But this time Motherwell were 2 up, and then I flicked it on. It was one each with 15 minutes to go, and I went, I'm going to watch the last 15. So I did watch the last 15 or 20 of the Rangers games, including the injury time that was added on, and I turned up the volume really loud at the end just to hear the crowd reaction. So it was as expected.
The first thing I noticed was there was a lot of empty seats for a European night in the main stand and that. That's the first thing I noticed. Now maybe it's just my eyesight, but and then the highlights. Whoever put the highlights package together had taken it from Rangers TV, so it was the Rangers TV commentary, So I wouldn't. It was quite biased.
I think it was only on Rangers.
It was quite biased, and the only thing I said was, Rangers humiliated in the title of the YouTuber. But so I thought maybe they took a spanking, but they're now in the Europa Conference League. They'll be dreaming they can win it. They can finally win a European trophy.
It's quite bizarre that you've got possibly three teams. Not possibly, but three teams in the playoff. Three Scottish teams in the playoff for one competition. I think there's some tough ties in there again, but no, for obviously Motherwell and Hearts have got really tough ties. I mean, the Hearts have went for Champions League to Europa League, and it's still going to be a hard ask for them for this. No, but it's hopefully one or two of them get through. And I'm sorry, we've got four teams now vying for the playoffs. Is that right? Aye, four. They're off in for the Conference League. So 4, which is quite bizarre. We'll see. Hopefully, a couple of them manage to get through. But.
Do Hearts drop into the conference as well? Or
aye.
So
I don't know who they've got. I think they've got Rapid Vienna.
every competition.
I think they might have Rapid Vienna. I'm not 100% on it. I think they've got Rapid Vienna and Motherwell have Freiburg, last year's finalists in the playoffs. So certainly no an easy one for Motherwell. No, it's a free hit, I suppose. Know what I mean? But it's a bit unfortunate that because they look decent, Motherwell. That's going to be a really tough one for them. I think Hearts have got Rapid Vienna. I'm not.
I'm just thinking to myself here about the meltdown in the Rangers camp. I've seen someone took a screenshot on Twitter of this guy Rangers fan when McInnes arrived. We finally got our man. We finally got a Rangers man who knows what the club's all about. And then there's a screenshot out, not even after last night, after last week's game. He's to get rid of this.
His opinion has changed somewhat. That was the only thing about it being on the Rangers TV last night and not being on sort of mainstream TV was that you didn't get to see Derek McInnes's media interview afterwards. You know what I mean? That was one of the things I was looking forward to when we beat them in the last game of the season. There was his interview, and it never happened because he was too busy getting himself back on the bus as quickly as possible. You know what I mean? But I was sort of looking forward to it, seeing it last night and all. But it's a disastrous start for them to be the Europa League already and not have won a domestic league game, and they went to the cup this week and against high flying St Mirren. I know they're at home, but I don't think that'll be easy given the morale in their camp won't be that high. But it could really they could really go into meltdown mode if they don't beat St Mirren on Sunday.
I had one point. I had someone last night saying that they should bring Tavernier back. You know what I mean? Because he his record as captain wasn't exactly.
Aye, but I think the number of assists and goals he provided must have been a help. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Obviously Shankland's got off a mark last night.
They shafted him, didn't they, at the end of the season? He's not going to be in a hurry to come. But I don't think they were saying he doesn't have a club either. So maybe we should sign him as cover.
No, I don't know if he would take that one.
So when you look at we spoke about the positives of the players coming through. There's still work to be done in the transfer window.
Yeah, it looks as if we're going to lose a couple and all, which is
Well, Hatate doesn't look like he is the future of Celtic. So and then it'll be a case of if we bring it, I do expect two players to go out soon. Because they'll want to recap the money that they've spent for
especially
the two players.
The wages.
They're talking 22 million for Engels to West Ham, and there's no hurry really on him to go. They could say to West Ham, "Yes, we'll sell him to you for that, but he can't go till after the Champions League qualifiers." Because
I don't think it's the best move for him, to be honest. Go to West Ham. Aye, I mean, I don't think that's a step up. I know he's obviously Engels will go down there and show up well. Either West Ham will get promoted because they should be, but there's no given in that league. I mean, that's a really hard league to get back out. There's not many teams go down and come straight back up. So I don't think it's the best move for him. You know what I mean, to club wise, but it's his chance to show himself down there. That he's. I mean, because the opinion down there of the Scottish League isn't the best. You know what I mean, so. But for me, no, it's no club who should be considering. You know what I mean, I think it should be staying and waiting to see. I mean, Forest are obviously in from and obviously West Ham are in from now, so there will be further interest. But wait till it's a team that you're a Premiership team at least, no, or one that looks as if they're. Fair enough if it comes to January and West Ham are flying high in the Championship and look as if they're going to be promoted, then but no, it could be consigned to the Championship for the next 3 or 4 seasons. You know what I mean? So
and I was listening to Frank McAvaney's podcast with Irvin Welsh yesterday.
Aye, I've seen a wee bit of it. I've seen a clip here about his cup final experience.
Yeah, and obviously he's a big Hibs fan, right? It was really good. It was a really good interview. So obviously he's a Hibs fan, but he likes West Ham. You know, it was interesting. You know, he was talking about the pubs around and the other grounds. You know, Millwall and he kind of likes his old school football. And obviously McAvaney's played for West Ham. He's a soft spot for them. And Mac has said this before, that the stadium, since they moved to the new stadium, it's just not the same. You know, groups of people that was always together in the old stadium are now separated. They spoke about the day trippers who come just to London on holidays, and it doesn't matter what game they take in. So to be going and playing in a stadium like where you can fucking nearly hear yourself after coming from 60,000, them games against Rangers, big European nights. So it leaves, the only thing is like the club want to cash in on him, and he wants that he wants more money. And his agent will be going, look, it's money's where it's at. So there's no
well, West Ham did relatively recently won a European trophy, so I mean,
and then got rid of the manager.
Aye. See, you're saying about the new stadium
in England, doesn't it? Ange got the bump after he won a European trophy. Moyes got the bump.
Yep, after the conference. But you're saying about the new stadium, we had the exact same issue when Celtic Park was rebuilt, when people were coming back together. They'd all been used to standing in the jungle or in certain parts of the Celtic end, and then they were scattered all over, and that created a lack of atmosphere in a lot of respects. I mean, people have got wearing tinted glasses when they come to think of Celtic Park as being this seething cauldron of noise in New Celtic Park. That was only for certain games. I mean, the atmosphere was dreadful at times, and hence the reason the ultras groups formed to try and promote a better atmosphere. So when you do build a new stadium and people are scattered to the four winds, then you've got to make sort of provisions to try and better the atmosphere, which we have done. The atmospheres at most English stadiums now are absolutely dreadful, probably with the exception of places like Crystal Palace and stuff where they have got an active scene. And but it does take a while to build that again. And I mean, English football, for all its wealth and all its fantastic players and stuff, it just leaves me cold. And give me a good Scottish game every day where the fan culture's first and foremost up here is fantastic. You know what I mean? So, we might have smaller crowds and gaps in the stands and stuff, but the atmospheres are
and
compared to Dundee.
Like capacity is not capacity. Scottish football per head, is one of the most per
capita.
Per capita, is one of the most watched, attended.
Yeah, that is aye. Yeah,
around. So like that's the thing. And another thing I noticed, Michael, on Sunday, I wasn't at the game Sunday. I was at the Flack Hole,
right.
Which is
okay.
Which was in Belfast. Only the second time I've ever been in the.
I've seen some of the clips and highlights.
It was absolutely what a day. And then obviously Celtic win, Rangers lose, and then you're treated to a city full of trad music. And the Failing of football was on. The Rebel gigs were on over there as well. So I bumped into a few people that were heading over to that in the Falls Park. But we stayed in and around the city, went to see a couple of sessions and ended up over at the main stage. And it's such a cultural, it shows the best of Ireland, what it is like, just some of the musicians and the acts was just absolutely brilliant. And it's on again next year or so. And I tell you, it'll be even big. I think it's been the biggest flower ever. We had it in Drogheda for 2 years. Absolutely incredible.
I stayed for 2 years in each location.
Yeah, well, I think someone didn't get it twice. You'd have to, I think, fuck up big time not to get it twice. But you generally have for 2 years if you don't mess it up. But they're saying because of the Good Friday Agreement will be, the anniversary of it will be the following year, so 2018, is it? So they were saying if they could hold it even for 3 years, it'd be the first time ever. But it's just like, I know some of the, I suppose, really, really traditional trad heads, it's probably too big for them now. And then you've got contemporary acts as well playing in different bars and that, and out on the street. So maybe that, if you're a traditionalist, you want to see it the way it always was, where it was only trad music, spoken word, dance and that. But, if you want to bring more people into trad music, this is a great way to bring them in, because they might start with the contemporary stuff, but they'll find their way to the trad sessions and the main stages and that, and they will just, enjoy it. People.
And vice versa. Your contemporary music will one day be seen as traditional as well. That's the other
well, if
thing,
you think back to Stockton's Wing and bands like that, Donal Lunny,
Passage of Time.
They were seen as they were outcasts back in the in the 70s, and now the likes of Horslips and stuff like that, and now they're part of the
I've listened to the Horslips a few times.
The Pogues, a Cayley band, a punk band that started to play Cayley music. A fusion of the two. When I hear people say,
well, even the Mary Wallopers, most of their songs are traditional sort of cover songs, aren't they? The vast majority, but the original music that they brought in is almost seamless. I mean, it could have been written 50, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, but it's been written today. You know what I mean? So
I find the Wallopers, but where they are is live. I don't think recordings do them justice. They are a live band, and what a live band they are. And even if you hear the boys doing interviews on podcasts and that, they don't mince their words. They call it as it is. But talking about the Pogues, I missed it, and I'm raging. Old Nicky McCool had Spider Stacey in the pub and he interviewed him in McCool.
He's very good. He's very good friends with.
She was the first man to bring the Pogues to Glasgow.
Yep. He actually took him as shots first. It was
the Mucky Duck.
Mucky Duck pub. In shots, no.
He told me some great stories about that time. He kind of travelled down to London and Manchester to persuade them to come.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the first album had come out. I think they'd hit a big, or maybe the second album, they'd hit a big, and he didn't think they were going to show up. He had them booked for a Saturday and a Sunday night upstairs in the pub, and he said they arrived up on the Friday because their gig was cancelled. So I think he had them for 3 days, right? And the great story about the doorman. Kate O'Riordan was playing bass in the band at the time, and she was married to Elvis Costello. And he came up to the door and say it was a tenner in or a five.
Elvis Costello did.
Yeah, and he says,
don't care who you are.
He came up and he says to the bouncers, I'm Elvis Costello, because he didn't want to pay in. And the bouncer says, I don't give a fuck if you're Elvis Presley. It's a fiver in. I think the police came down as well to see what was going on, because there was loads of people outside the gig, and there's a grass verge across the road. And I'd love to get Nicky on the podcast, but every time I speak to him, and then you read, but I think Joe Miller went to it. I think Joe was at it, so maybe
that doesn't surprise me. Is there a gig at Joe, isn't he? You know what I mean?
But
I don't know how
he had to leave. I think he had to leave because he was going to another gig.
That doesn't surprise me either, to be fair. No. That does not. No, I mean, Joe's I think Joe's drank for the Fountain of Youth somewhere along the line.
I'll tell you one thing, he loves that stout, hasn't he?
I seen him on Sunday, actually. He was a few rows behind me at Kilmarnock. No. I was in Rose Ed, so I was waiting to collect my ball, because there's always somebody puts it into Rose Ed, isn't there? But not on this occasion.
What was the atmosphere like behind the goals? It looked good on TV.
It was really good, It was good. It was really good. No, it was just hard for it not to be good on. Everything just clicked. I just thought, and I mean, some of the interplay in the first half was brilliant, and it was just like, just a wee knock back and knock on, and we were away every time. It was just such an open first half. It was just incredible, and it was really heartening as to see it so early. But hopefully it's not false dawn.
And Luke McCann coming off the bench for his cameo role, first touch of the ball.
Aye, well, one of the old boys next to me thought it was Osmond that had come on. I went, no, that's Luke McCowan that's come on. No, it's Osmond. I was like, it's 14. So, aye, yep.
Yeah. So it looked good anyway, but and so I watched the game in Drogheda, and then I jumped on the 3:30 train, and I was following the Rangers game on the phone, and then. At one of the stages in Belfast, I met all the lads that from Belfast that go to games, and straight away everyone's talking about the football, and you can just see Sandra going, I get one day out with you at the flag. You spent it watching football coming up on the train, and then now what you're talking about. So, but that's just the way it is when you bump into Celtic fans, isn't it? And there was a load of young lads in the train as well got on, because the train stops Dundalk, Newry, Portadown, and then into Belfast. And there's you could see all the Celtic Jays getting on, because they were obviously heading to the Falls Park for the big Rebel gig. So it was a great day out, and I'm glad you enjoyed your day, and I'm glad that we got kind of that. We got to see who he was brought to score goals, and different types of goals as well, Michael. Up in the air, it's just great. And we've a new set piece coach coming in now, and hopefully now, because we don't score a lot from corners,
No, we don't.
So it would be, and he looks like a player that could change that.
Definitely.
It's quite positive. If we can hold on to Engels and Johnson's, it'll be even more positive. We've been so critical of the board, but there's 4 players in. 2 of them we've seen so far.
Yeah.
They look.
But this is what they should be doing. I mean, they shouldn't be getting. I don't think we should be overly praising them for doing the job.
I'm not overpraising them, Michael. I'm not overpraising them, right? But with the Martin O'Neill influence in there now, it seems to be that they're bringing in. Well, we leave judgment on the 2 players that have signed this week, because we have to see them first, right? But the other 2 players have started well, and. Celtic I know using, I see in Martin O'Neill's interview with the Celtic player, I think it was, he was saying the first question was, are we bringing in quantity over quality over quantity, And I was going, that's a fucking home goal for you again there, you know what I mean? Because the amount of quantity that came in for 2 transfer windows was very poor, and now we have 2 players coming in who I have to say, Michael, I'm really excited about, and Osmond as well as the 3rd choice striker. There's plenty of goals there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Goals wins game. But if you go to the other end of the pitch, we need a goalkeeper. Sinsala has no competition.
No, whether he's first choice for the rest of the season or a backup to somebody else, if I'm going to spend big and bring somebody in, then we need somebody else. I mean,
certainly,
it's a no-brainer. Certainly. I heard them on TV the other night saying that Celtic are still looking for a goalkeeper, and I think they said a left back, no right back, which I found quite heartening. No, so obviously for cover for
a youngster from Chelsea, an 18-year-old in the picture. He was in Celtic Park. I think he was in Lennoxtown yesterday.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. So
18-year-old, and he had an entourage around him. I just seen a picture. I just seen a still picture, and I was going. But he's coming in as cover, and we spoke about this before. It's hard to get a player to come up to play second fiddle to Kieran Tierney of kind of any. I think it is anyway of any quality. That's why I was surprised that we let Sarachi go, because he was happy to be there. You know what I mean? But he's now got a new club. We've moved on from that. So goalkeeper, left back, right? We're going to need a right back if Johnson goes. I know you spoke highly about Colby Donovan, but and there's not going to be too easy to find. So hopefully, it's good news that they're going to hold on to Johnson, and he sees at least another year of his contract. So we've got 2 games coming up, Michael. Right, Dundee United, the League Cup, as we said, Saturday, an unusual kick-off time, but we're getting used to that. Now they've had mixed luck so far in the league. They had 1-1 with Rangers, which we were all delighted to see. And then
they looked all right in that game.
They took a hammering off Hearts.
Yeah.
So where do you think their confidence will be? Where do you think? But like I think our players, if they can continue on with Kilmarnock, you know, because Tannadice wasn't a happy hunting ground last year. But I think
it normally is, but that's the thing.
I'm quite confident.
I mean, in the last few decades, Tannadice has been a very happy hunting ground for us. I mean, we've won titles and stuff up there, so I'm really confident that we'll see them off quite comfortably tomorrow. Hopefully, my confidence isn't misplaced, but I'm going on what I've seen last week, and the fact that we have went out and signed another couple of players, big support up there as well, making a lot of noise and stuff. I just think, I mean, obviously it's a home game for Dundee United. They'll no cave the way they did against Hearts. Obviously, home advantage gives you, not playing at home gives you some sort of advantage, but no, I think we'll be comfortable tomorrow. No, I can't see us no winning that. The fact that we've got even 120 minutes and penalties to do it, then I think I can't see any way that Dundee United will beat us. And I'm feeling really, really confident, overconfident probably. No,
Hassan, does he make his debut? Does he start?
I don't think so. No, I think he'll make a
same 11.
And
then the bar thing, he doesn't start anyway.
No, he won't
with
start.
Engels still there, you know, that midfield is settled.
Aye, I think it'll be more or less the same lineup. Maybe I can't see making any changes to that. No.
Right. It'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing, especially Hassan. Thought he was quite good in the World Cup. You know, the games I watched. I thought Egypt were good in the World Cup as well. So obviously didn't see anything of him in Spain. So you know what I have seen of him, like as I said, you know, reels can be misleading.
He's obviously got a lot of pace. That's the thing. Pace to burn, and it looks as if he's got a trick or two up his sleeve. So this is the Kuhn replacement, maybe that we've been waiting
he seemed like a cool character as well. And when he spoke to the press, you know, he seemed whereas Barr seemed excited, and you know, a bit like who was very excited when he came in. Seems to be a bit of a character, but it'll be interesting to see how they bed in, and if there's any more comings and goings. But there's not much more time left for Engels and Johnson not to play against Lask, which is, you know, the big Champions League game, Michael. You know, it's a massive game.
It won't be an issue anyway for Everton or West Ham. It's not as if they're European football, so it's not an issue with it if they're going to go to the clubs. You know what I mean? Hopefully not, but I just feel that the fact that we're signed about yesterday probably has paved the way for Engels to move on, but I think that might be.
But thankfully as well, Michael, thankfully that we have players, because normally there was not, like last year there was no plan. So when the big money came in from Forest, they wanted to sell him, they wanted to cash in on him. The businessmen wanted to do that, but obviously O'Neill said, "Well, if he goes, who are you going to replace him with?" So it was too late. It was too late in the transfer window. You know what I mean?
Even Yang had them punted.
Yeah.
But at least we won't be entering the playoff game playing one of our midfielders at the centre back or anything like that. That's obviously been an issue so many times in the past where we're just not got the players, and hopefully we don't get any injuries and they're coming.
Talking about injuries, Michael, great to see Jota back in the training ground.
Obviously we don't know how far away he is.
You forget about him, don't you? I think Sean Maloney was saying that he hasn't had no physical contact yet, so they've always said October. So, well, you heard Daniel speaking. He's still a few weeks away yet, and it's like, well, weeks.
we've been looking at 6 months, a year. Now it's weeks. So,
and a player, Michael, a player that gets you off your seat.
Definitely, aye. I think he's been out that long that we've just forgot him about him as such, but just forgot that he's he'll be an integral part of what happens going forward.
So can we think of Hassan, Jota, Duran, and who
on the same lineup
on this up front?
Oh, aye.
That would be exciting, wouldn't it? Hard work for the midfielders.
Hard work for the defenders in the opposition. You know what I mean? That's
so exciting. It'd be so exciting, wouldn't it?
Aye. I mean, you're talking about. Somebody sent me a Rangers forum thing this morning where they're all going into meltdown for last night after and they're talking about them being Espanyol and how we're light years ahead of them and stuff. No, and big blow for them with Chermiti sustaining the same injury that Jota had. So that's right on hours after receiving a huge bid for him as well. No, so it just shows you how quickly things can turn as well, doesn't it, for players, doesn't it? But brilliant to see Jota on the mend and almost back. And it's exciting to think about all those players possibly being in the same lineup in the coming months.
I'm so we've been so I suppose disappointed, with the exception of the run in the last season was, it was a fucking very frustrating season. And to think now that we've got players in and hopefully we can hold on to some of what we have as well.
And the thing is, 5 points clear of your biggest rivals after 2 games is just incredible. I mean, that's at any point in the stage. I mean, obviously St Mirren are on the same amount of points as us, so we're no 5 points clear or anything. But to be 5 points ahead of them after 2 games is just it's just what nice, a horror start for them and what an incredible start for us after that performance last week. So
and there'll be a lot of bragging in the workplace in Glasgow.
Aye, and this weekend, the one we missed out on last season, that it's hard to believe that we were just that game against St Mirren in the cup final away for a treble.
And when you think of it, but like the last game, right? It's do you know much about the team? I know they've done the double, but they're not one of the fashionable teams in
Austria,
European football or Austria.
No,
we've been there a couple of times to see games, Michael. So they certainly went on my radar.
Well, it's a tough league. You've got Sturm Graz and Salzburg in it who have proved tough opposition for us in recent years, and others, as you've seen with Hearts recently. They beat Sturm Graz, Salzburg, Rapid Vienna to the title. No, so I don't know about anybody's mugs. I mean, supposedly they've got a guy up front who's really, really dangerous. They seem to play really direct and try and hit you with quick counter attacks or transitions, as we say these days. You know what I mean? So, I think we'll need to be really careful. Don't need to push the boat out too much in the first game. No, I don't think we don't need to go gung ho, which we won't. We don't really do that these days, do we? When we're playing European football, it's sort of. But if we can build up any sort of lead, Martin O'Neill seems to have a bit about him when it comes to European away games. No, so I don't think we'll be as naive as we've been in some previous seasons when we're going away in Europe. So I think we'll look at how the first games went. Hopefully it's been positive and there's a positive outcome. We've got some sort of lead to take ways, but even if we don't have a lead to take ways, I'm sure we've got the players there that would be able to win you the game in a one-off, in a tie in a one-off game. No, so it's not going to be easy by any manner of means. No, probably one of the toughest ones we could have took, if no the toughest. I was sort of, as I said before, I was glad we've avoided Viking because I think there would have been a large element of the supporters just on that Viking, who are they? But they beat Bodo to the title last year, so I was sort of glad we avoided them. But this is probably as tough, if not a tougher ask. I think that's probably the toughest ask out of the ties we could have got. So, but it looks like no. So, but we'll see. I think we're looking well prepared, which is really unusual for us going into a European playoff game. We don't normally look prepared, so it looks as if everything's falling into place at the right time, as it should be. Hopefully, we learned my lesson last season, and we can ease them out, so to speak. But obviously, the better the result we get at home, the easier the second leg will be. So, but not to be all and end all if we don't win 3-0. You know what I mean? If we go away with a single goal lead, it's some sort of lead. No,
is it a 50-50 game?
Probably 60-40, I would say, in our favour.
Confident?
I would think. Having watched this, the fact that a couple of players are. Well, who's got half a season under his belt already, so he's flying. A few of the players have been to the World Cup and stuff. Even Hassan is coming in his World Cup, so they've not all summer to lie about eating Mars bars and drinking beer. I mean, so
yeah.
I don't know if football players do that anymore.
I don't think they do. I think their fat's measured before the end of the season, and then when they come back, you know, because I remember last season on pre-season in Faro. Adam Meada was after the game. They had him running up and down, and at half time they had him running up and down. He was like, he was almost physically sick, like, you know what I mean. Like, they just, because obviously he came back unfit, or not to the level he was supposed to. Yeah. They didn't. He played no football, I don't think, in the first couple of games. They just ran the bollocks out of him. Use the language. And you spoke there about who, you know, halfway through the season got Champions League experience, European goals in him. You know, so he won't be phased. And
Duran's got a few goals in him as well.
So, you know, Michael, it's all positive on the podcast today. We always finish on the memory lane.
What are you throwing at me this week?
Well, it's Champions League qualifiers, right? So I'll hit you with one that's sprung to mind, right? 25 years ago, Ajax away.
I thought you were going to say Basel. I was going to.
No. I think it was 25 years because I was celebrating my 30th birthday. And my present was
it was 2001.
A 2-night trip to Amsterdam. It was an amazing trip. The Celtic support travelled in huge numbers. Bobby Petter and Agat, I think, scored.
Sutton.
There was a Celtic fan shot in a pub. Sutton scored as well, yeah?
Sutton scored with a fantastic header off the underside of the bar.
Did we win 3-1?
3-1 it was, aye. What an Ajax side that was. What a lineup when you look back at the side there. Shota Avaladze scored as well. He was the scorer for Ajax. Yeah. He went on to play with Rangers, aye.
And you know what? It was the first away days in the first issue, I think, of the fanzine. Right. It was the first away days. It was a brilliant trip. We done what you do when you go to Amsterdam. We enjoyed ourselves in the cafes. It was just, it was. I suppose it was. I met so many people on that trip that have become lifelong friends. So yeah, it's a memory that, you know, it's one of them away trips that kind of kicked off that whole Martin O'Neill European adventures. You know, I remember like it went from people running buses to Turin, and all of a sudden there was charter flights from Ireland. The supporters groups got together and were chartering planes, and this was kind of like, you know, if you thought, you know, a couple of years previous or even a few seasons previous, when Europe was over by September, it was just.
That's one I have very strong memories of that one. It was
just great. It was just brilliant, right? So the last time we spoke about Cardiff, have you any memories from that Amsterdam trip?
I've got so many memories for that trip. It's unbelievable. No, some of the people I went with don't even go to football. No, so because it was Amsterdam, and they were like, "We're gonna go and get wrecked." And one of my mates had booked a hotel, right? And it must have been an ex-copper that owned the hotel. When we went into the hotel, had all these police badges for in the world behind the check-in at the reception, no, and Merseyside Police, just on all these places, and it had big signs up, no drugs, absolutely no drugs. Half the people
was that in the red light district?
No, it wasn't. No, it was up towards Vondel Park.
Right. Okay.
It's just mental. But they were all wrecked, and you should have seen the state of the place at breakfast time. You know what I mean? I think they were dying to get rid of us. You know what I mean? But it was just such a mad couple of days, because I really believed we could beat Ajax, because they'd only finished third in the league that season, and I thought we can beat them. But it was that was the sort of moment where you realise that we were building towards something that we could compete again in Europe. I mean, some of the players they had on their side, but I remember I went to the Van Gogh Museum then as well. And I remember we were standing and staring at the paintings, and we were like 2 inches thick the paint, and we were like, no wonder he died skint, man, the amount of paint he's got on that, no? So it's just the culture. Everybody around me was all stoned, you know what I mean? I remember prior to the game, but there was a sort of supporters area right at the away section, and there's quite a lot of Ajax fans in it, and some fighting broke out.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I remember the fighting.
Well, I get the blame of that, because there was some guy, some big guy, a big bodybuilder Ajax fan, had charged into the toilet. We were all queuing for the toilet, and he just charged right past us and just breezed right into the toilet and all. So when he went into the toilet, when he was trying to go out, I was holding the door shut so he couldn't get back out. And he came out, headed up shoving it, and I went flying. He came out going mental, and he's like that. So it ended up a big rammy, and it sort of all kicked off for there outside the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember as we were going in through the turnstiles, going up the stairs, there was loads of missiles coming up.
Oh.
You know, the way the stairs are open. There was loads of missiles coming up, and then a Celtic fan pulled the drain pipe off.
Right.
And just whacked it down on this guy, right? And then I think security came and tried to move all the Celtic fans, but whatever was coming up was going back. And then the security disappeared, and then the Royal Police came in, and they were able to move everybody, because I don't think anyone got put out, but I think everyone just got moved into their seats, you know, watch the game.
I remember at half time as well, there was a guy behind us, and he's absolutely steaming drunk, you know what I mean? And one of my pals is smoking a joint, and he says to me, gives a smoke in that, pal. And I'm like, no. And he's like, what do you mean, no? I says, listen, honestly, he's doing you a favour. You don't want to be mixing that with alcohol in the state you were in, no? So he was like, 5 minutes, he was like at first, and then 5 minutes later, he's like, right, okay. He sort of seen where we were coming from, thankfully, you know what I mean? And that we weren't just being mean to him, you know what I mean? But I thought, give him a smoky, right? And he'll end up falling 5 rows.
Very sensible of you, Michael.
It wasn't me, it was smoking, right, you know? So, or maybe I was back then, I don't know. I can't remember.
The difference in going to watch international football in Amsterdam and club football is night and day. We'd been over for Ireland. Ireland went 2-0 up that night. Robbie Keane scored, I think, the 2 goals.
Right.
And we drew 2-2 with the Dutch. But we were down in that fan zone, we'll say, that area before the game. And it was all, you know, guys dressed in orange dressing gowns and swimming caps and goggles and that kind of, you know, like loony stuff. It was like that Monster Raven loony party. But like, you know, it was just a good buzz, and everybody was stoned.
Screaming loud such.
Like a lot of people were stoned, and it was just that kind of happy buzz. And then you go to club football over there, and it's fucking, there's always trouble, like, you know what I mean?
I've actually been to an Ajax game years ago. I was there. I was going out for a weekend, and I've got Gal off the Lisbon Lions bus, his pally with Ajax fans, has been since the early 80s, since we played them when we beat them over there when Cruyff was playing and stuff. And he sorted out tickets for me for one of his Dutch friends. So I went along to see Ajax and RKC Volvic, and it was just, the atmosphere was pretty poor in it and stuff. It was a bit like what Celtic was in the 90s. No, it was the atmosphere wasn't very good, and I just thought, this is just like you see these European games on TV, and you think the atmosphere is going to be fantastic and stuff, and it was quite uninteresting. It's probably the equivalent of us playing Dundee or something right enough, or something like that, or St Mirren at home, you know what I mean? So you wouldn't expect it to be an electric atmosphere, but aye, that was my experience of Ajax. I was on an early flight, still trying to stay awake, you know what I mean? So
yeah, we went that Holland game was an episode. We flew to Charleroi is it Charleroi in Belgium?
Charleroi.
It's supposed to be Brussels, but it's not. And we hired a bus, and we decided to be stopping the way down in McDonald's.
Right.
So we all bailed into McDonald's. It was obviously a lot of drink on the fly. You know, we were young men, so we stopped to get something to eat. There was a carry out on the bus, and when we went back out, the driver, who didn't speak much English, he basically told us the bus was broken down and he needed a push start.
Right.
So everybody's off the bus and pushing the bus down, you know, onto the motorway to get a jump started, right? And I don't know how that works on a bus, right? But we got started, and everyone's running around to get on the bus, right? You can just see all the motorists and that going, "What the fuck?" Like, you know. And some of the boys, like there was lads, we couldn't even get off the fucking bus because they were too pissed, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But eventually, when we got to Amsterdam, then the driver couldn't find the hotel. We drove around Amsterdam for 2 hours trying to find the hotel. And we arrived in the hotel. It had that kind of a prison look.
Right.
I remember Hilly going up to reception and he says, "Excuse me, can you tell me what this was before it was a hotel?" And the lady behind reception said, "It was a lunatic asylum." And I looked around and I went,
"We're on the right place."
It was. But yeah, great memories of Amsterdam. And
what a fantastic result it was that night, although the second leg was a cagey. One, but 1-0 to them. And
it was a poor game as well, wasn't it?
Well, they just played us off the park, if I remember rightly, in that game, no. But it was a bright, sunny evening. But I don't think we really knew where to twist or stick, to be fair, in that game. So,
and it was a beautiful sunny day. And I remember we were all in the Welcome Inn, which is gone now. And there was a lot of Ajax fans in it, and there was no trouble. Like, it was like I have loads of pictures, and there's loads of Ajax fans in the pictures. And John Higgins was the world snooker champion, and I have a picture of a very young me and a very young John Higgins in the Welcome Inn. He was, and then a couple of years later, I met him and I got a picture, and someone sent me the picture, an actual picture, not a thing. And I only found it the other day when I was cleaning out the press. And John Higgins still doing it in the snooker. Still, you know, time doesn't stand still for anyone, and he's booking the trend because all these new players come along, and he's still there or thereabouts.
I've got one of his cues upstairs.
Have you? Yeah.
I won it in a raffle at a charity night. So.
Very good.
I think a wee signed picture of him. So.
I would have thought, you know, you would have been bidding on the baseball bats. Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. I love going down memory lane with you. It's been a positive podcast for a change, and we look forward to Dundee United on Saturday, and then the big one against Lask on Wednesday, and hopefully then near the end of the week, next week when I get back from Glasgow, we can sit down and record another podcast. Because you're a busy man these days, so it's hard to get you. But thank you very much for chatting, and thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.